It's not on the TV, it's not on the radio, it's not on the podcast, but in reality is everywhere.
We need to help the gay community here in Cyprus because there's nothing worse than going through life thinking you're alone.
Foundationally and from the points of rights and progression, it makes no sense.
And I picked up the phone and I said to the lady, how do I know if I'm gay? I was shocked that she would actually utter the words date woman.
I cannot wrap my head around why we're having this conversation in 2025 because it makes no sense.
Certainly a Greek priest shouldn't be able to tell me who I can marry. I'm good with my God. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of that.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Made in Cyprus, big business story from a tiny island, or like you call us, Mitziela. Today we have a bit of a different story. We're not talking about business, we're talking about culture. And this is one of those conversations that I'm deeply passionate about because there aren't enough of this conversation happening in Cyprus. And although this is a platform for business, startup, the ecosystem, the goal of the podcast of Made in Cyprus is to help rebrand, reshape Cyprus globally and internationally beyond the usual suspects, but also help people see things from a different lens. And that's why today with us we have Despo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martin. Such a privilege to be here. And I was really very happy that you asked me to be part of your podcast when we met at the Diaspora.
Yeah.
I'm very, very happy that we're here together and discussing this, what shouldn't be a controversial topic, but still is.
100%. I think when I was looking at your panel at the Diaspora forum, I think it took me about 63 seconds to decide to have you on the show. Because I also personally struggled to find voices and advocate for the LGBTQ community in Cyprus and locally. It's a taboo. We don't talk about it. We don't write about it. It's not on the TV. It's not on the radio. It's not on the podcast. It's not anywhere, but in reality is everywhere.
100%. And I'm doing all of that. I speak about it. I wrote about it. And I've been on podcasts to discuss it. So thank you for asking me, because again, like you say, it is something that needs to be discussed more freely, more openly. Let's be relaxed. Let's talk about what we can do to help the gay community in Cyprus.
Yeah. Despo, so what's your story? What brought you here then?
So actually, Martin, I started writing this novel or this book not because I wanted to particularly send out a gay message. I wanted to specifically deal with what I was going through. I was going through quite a traumatic experience at the time, and I was putting my feelings in. I was writing it.
Let's get to it. Yeah. So you weren't born in Cyprus, though, right?
No, I was born and raised in South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, and
from Cypriot parents.
100%. Originally from the north of Cyprus, and then they moved. My parents moved to South Africa, started their life there and their family there, and I was there for 52 years, born and raised, stayed there. Used to come to Cyprus on holiday, so knew a lot about the culture and obviously the island.
Mm-hmm.
She's magnificent, and came to Bafos. Well, sorry, I live in Bafos now, but I came to Cyprus only 3 years ago, going on to 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
So tell me more about these your early years as well, and like how is to grow up in a Cyprus Diaspora family?
Martin, the one thing that struck me while I was growing up and then coming to Cyprus on holiday was that we were keeping a lot of our cultural norms. We were holding on to our traditional ways of doing things back in South Africa. And Cyprus was sort of more relaxed with them. And the Cypriots here were not as I want to say loyal and faithful to this culture as we were back home. I say back home. My home is literally both countries. And that's one of the things, you know, you always felt like you were split. You lived in South Africa, but you were considered a Greek, and you lived in Cyprus, and you're considered a South African. So you always have the split. But I use that to my benefit, because it gives me such a better understanding, knowing what a Cypriot woman goes through, perhaps as a gay person, and I certainly know what you know, a South African gay person goes through. But it gives you an idea of how to handle different situations, and where it works in one country, try and bring it to this country, and what doesn't work in that country, try and stay away from it. You know, so you have that privileged position to try and speak about these important topics and try and change policy.
And what was your journey then as a child, and realizing that perhaps things are different?
Well, growing up, you know, this was I was born in the 1970s. So growing up, I knew of no gay people. They weren't on television. It's not like we had friends that were gay. I knew of nobody that was gay. But I had these inclinations, like, you know, it felt like what I would now explain as a crush. I would have a crush on a girl or whatever at school, but I would never act on it, because this is abnormal. It's weird. And then I had the opportunity to go and study in the city. And when I got there, I was basically doing quite a lot of self-reflection and trying to find out exactly who it is I am, as you do, as most people do at that age, sort of 18, 19. And I remember picking up the phone and calling what we called back in South Africa a helpline. Now, helpline is a community center that they take calls for people who are really struggling, you know, but really badly, like with suicide or whatever. And I can't say I was at that stage. I certainly never was. But it was such a heavy issue that I was trying to work through that I felt I needed help. And I picked up the phone and I said to the lady, how do I know if I'm gay? And she said, you know, she gave me a little bit of advice: date men and see how that goes, and date women and see how that goes. And I was shocked that she would actually utter the words date woman. Like, who would have the courage to walk up to a woman as a woman and say, should we go out Friday night and have a cup of coffee or something? So I decided, that's it. I'm not going to be gay. I'm suppressing this. I do not want to know anything about this. And I did. I packed it away. Refused to acknowledge it. And that was very difficult and very stupid. But having said that, that's exactly what I did. And this is where I want people to, excuse me, this is now... I'm sweating because it's the trauma of remembering back of everything I've been through, so please forgive me. But the reality is I did pack it away, and I married a man who I did love. I loved him very much. And we had our 4 beautiful children together, and life was great until I saw a woman and fell in love with her.
You just couldn't, you
couldn't get away from it.
Get that away.
I couldn't get away, and it was always there. It was always there. And I kept suppressing. But we all know that stuff comes out. And had I had the freedom of maybe just being who I am, being my authentic self, and you know, living in my own true authenticity, my life would have been very different. Not to say I regret my life. I absolutely do not. I've had an amazing life, and I've had amazing people love me, and I've loved them right back. But the reality is, I'm gay. I should have been gay from day one, because what happens is you end up hurting a lot of people when you're gay and you go for a straight relationship, but more importantly, you're also hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're saying to yourself, I'm ashamed of who I am. Now, when you live with shame, that's quite horrible. I mean, when you believe that you're not quite up there with the rest of the people. So it becomes a toxic, unhealthy situation. And that's why it's so important for me to get the message out, Martin, that we need to help the gay community here in Cyprus. We need to honestly not turn our backs on them, because we have. I believe government has failed the LGBTQ community in Cyprus, and continues to fail it. And that's sad, because these are people who need our love, who need our support, and we're turning a blind eye and saying you don't exist. And that's quite sad. That's quite horrible, actually.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine, because like I think we go through our lives with a set of problems that are just not fucking comparable with a situation where you have to oppress your true self because of society, because of family, because of politics, or because of all of that. And I think I cannot wrap my head around why we're having this conversation in 2025, because it makes no sense,
100%. To be here sitting about discussing LGBTQ rights in 2025. What's even more horrific is that in 2023, we said it's illegal to do conversion therapy. How sad that in 2023 only did we think conversion therapy is bad. Yeah. This is stuff that is absolutely forbidden. It shouldn't have even existed ever. Never mind that we're so late in coming to realize that this is shocking. For me, it's shocking. And then the other thing is, the government throws us a bone and says you can have civil unions in Cyprus. And that was in 2015. 10 years later, you have not progressed from that decision. So for a decade, like if you throw a bone to this LGBTQ community every decade, you're working at a very slow pace. In fact, you're probably working backwards. So we need to get serious about policy. And we need to have serious conversations with great minds who are in the position to change policy, at least influence policy. And that's what I'm here to do, Martin. And thank you for giving me the opportunity, because you're an ally. You're helping us here with this problem, because it's a pandemic.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Despo, like in your journey, what was the hardest component to deal with in your ecosystem then? And I'm talking about family, work, friends.
It was.
What was that journey about then?
The hardest for me was definitely coming out to my parents. And I didn't want to do it, and I didn't do it. And how it happened was, I was in a relationship with a woman, and someone saw something and told my parents about it. Which, two things that person did. Took away my right to
control the story.
Exactly. And expose myself as I was comfortable in doing, speak about my feelings and, like you say, my journey. And the second thing that happened was it shocked my parents. And immediately, I remember that day like it happened 15 minutes ago. And it's a day that unfortunately is imprinted in my brain for the rest of my life, because my father took it so badly that I think it affected his health. I know it affected his health. And it's not to say I'll put the man in his grave, but certainly he had health issues after that. It was a horrible day. Not their best day ever, certainly. And my mom was obviously very emotional, just trying to process this and then also balance, try and calm my father down. And it was it was a terrible day, the worst day of my life. But having said that, I'm glad that day actually happened, because once it was out, it felt like I was then able to then manage it. It was chaos, and it will always be chaos. We're in a position, even here in Cyprus still, the youngsters, you will expose yourself, and you will be dealing with absolute chaos. But remember that you'll manage it, and with patience and support and love, you'll get through everything. Because you must remember, especially for my personal story, Martin, I didn't want to accept it. And 30 years into my life, I was not accepting it. So to expect my parents to accept it immediately would have been unrealistic.
Yeah.
And what was amazing with that journey is that my father and I never discussed it after that day. And sadly, I lost him. He passed away before we could actually sit down and have a conversation like you and I. But I have had that conversation and many conversations with my mom, who, we've shouted, we've screamed, we've hugged, we've cried, we've But that's love, and you get through it, and we have, and she's my biggest supporter now. And how phenomenal is that? I've taken a woman who grew up in a village, a traditional village, conservative village in Cyprus, and she's now by my side saying, yes, gays are good, give them a chance. You know, that mindset, growing up in the Orthodox Church, having to change that mindset, having to change her way of thinking and what's normal for her and what's not. I take my hat off to her, because she could have potentially lost her friends and family because of her opinion or her position to say, I'm standing by my child.
Yeah.
It's a horrible day. Thank you for asking.
I'm almost breaking up in here when you talk about your mom, because you know what was going on in my mind, you know, because of the work that I do, a lot of what I do is trying to understand one perspective, trying to understand the other perspective, and then build a bridge.
Yes.
I mean, I would never imagine to have found an analogy with brand building and branding in this topic, but it's really true. It's an exercise of empathy.
Yes, it is.
Right? And I was thinking about your father. I was thinking about your mom. I was thinking about you telling me that these are even more traditional Cypriots, more religious, more conservative, that actually what is going on in Cyprus. And then after 30 years, you know, discovering this from the sideways, and I think that no one will expect to have had a different reaction.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you. But having said that, doesn't mean the reaction didn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, it leaves a mark. But that is the reaction you can expect. And let's be realistic. Until we change things and until we make it normal for our gay community to come out and walk hand in hand in malls and go for dinner together and give them a peck on the cheek if they feel intimate for a second, we're going to have a negative reaction. And that's sad, because why? It's love. And love is love, whether it's from a man and a woman or two men, two women. It's love, and love is good, and love is pure, and good always comes from love.
Yeah, and funny enough, I think historically with like older cultures was absolutely normal. I think something along the evolution, the development of Christianity, the development of church also made the conversation much harder. In a way, as like evolving as a society, we lost something that used to be way less of a taboo in older cultures.
100%. Let's look at Alexander the Great. I mean, there is evidence that, you know, there was certainly
the gayest
activity.
Of the emperors. Yeah.
There was certainly gay activity. And these are heroes.
Yeah.
These men were heroes. And they to this day have made the Greek Empire strong because of everything they achieved.
Yeah. And they would have been cancelled nowadays.
And how sad is that?
Yeah.
How sad is that?
And so, where is South Africa and where is Cyprus?
So on the LGBTQ community, I take my hat off to South Africa. Firstly, South Africa to me has, and I've said this before, has got the best constitution I've ever come across or I've ever been exposed to. Honestly, you had great minds sit together and put together the most amazing constitution. Everybody has their rights. The LGBTQ community has amazing rights. You are allowed to get married. You're allowed to adopt. You're allowed.
Wow.
On paper.
Okay.
It's not implemented, though. So on the street, you fear for your safety. There's gender-based violence, which is a pandemic in South Africa. It's far more accepted than it is in Cyprus, but they haven't quite taken this masterpiece from the Constitution and applied it, implemented it on the streets and said, this is now law.
Well, what's missing? What is that transition gap missing from paper to mind?
Well, I'll tell you, it's just government that's not implementing it, and there is still taboo. Just because the Constitution says it's okay doesn't mean the person who lives next door to you agrees with that. So that's where they're trying to gently put it in, but it's also neglect. It's an area of neglect from the South African government. It's something they need to put more focus on. But there is active work towards it. You know, there's a strong sort of LGBT support group, and you always find them wherever you are in South Africa. You can always call them up for support. They're activists. They, you know, stand up and they hold the flag and they're proud. I'm not that person, and not to say that their work is minimal. Because of it, it's not, absolutely not. I respect them.
It's absolutely the front line, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're the warriors. And bravo to us. Thank you for doing that, honestly. But I'm more about sitting down and having a serious conversation with someone because I believe in sharing stories. We build an ethos of embracing diversity, Martin, and that's essential for me. And once you do that, once you're embracing diversity, you will look at your policies and you will start changing them because you can see that this person is actually normal, just like me. Give them the rights they have. I had and in Cyprus, you don't have that. So you're not allowed to get married. You have civil union, but it's not. It's like saying, it's like holding a piece of meat in front of a dog's nose, and as he goes for the bite, you shove a carrot in his mouth. That's what civil union is. Marriage is what we want. Or give it to the LGBT community. Give it to everyone who wants to get married, you know? What difference does it make, whether it's a man or a woman? If that couple love each other, then allow them to adopt, allow them to have a family, allow them to be as normal as their neighbor who can get married and have their babies and raise them in safe neighborhoods. Give them the same rights. So Cyprus is behind on that.
Yeah, I was lucky enough, and I will remember like one of my best trips ever. Like we were in Prague to meet a friend of mine. She's one of my best friends, and I remember like I could see her like I could see there was something going on, something in her mind, you know. And then we went out partying and drinking one night, and then she comes close to me and she said, "You know what? I fell in love with a woman. I'm gay. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to tell everyone." And I remember I looked at her and I said, "So what?"
Yeah.
And then
so
she just cried. She hugged, and then we had the greatest night ever. Because I conceptually I cannot imagine how could that ever make our relationship different or
100%.
more complicated, or how could that change anything?
Because it's who you are. And you know those words, "so what," are magnificent. I'm an operations manager for a company in Bafos. May I say their name?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they called Gibostizadem Chakaria. It's a family-owned business, and they have 3 stores in Bafos, and I'm the operations manager for all 3. And my boss Eleni said to me one day, you know, why don't you bring your book to the store so we can sell it? So I said, well, it's an LGBTQ themed book. And she said, "So what?" And those words, "so what?" Magnificent. When they landed on my ear, it sounded like the choirs opening up in heaven and singing.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I remember you cracked me up when I was listening to your panel is that you said gay is good for business.
Gay is very good for business. You have no idea the socio-political economy if Cyprus had to turn around and say, we accept gay marriages, there would be an influx of people arriving to get married on this beautiful island. It's the island of love, and it's a gorgeous island. You know, I always
I'm
say,
sure Aphrodite will approve.
of course, the island of Aphrodite. I mean, let's open the doors. Honestly, we need to.
Yeah,
it'll be great for the economy.
Yeah. So you mentioned about the politics, obviously, just dropping carrots instead of and bones. One of the biggest points that I have in my mind when it comes to an open sexuality is the religion. Where do we stand on that? So what should that conversation be? Can a gay person be religious, and how much of the religious tradition impacts the situation in Cyprus specifically?
You know, it's religious factors are probably what holds us completely back here in Cyprus. And I'll tell you what, not only does it apply and put pressure on the gay community per se, but you have people on the street who quietly believe they're God's right-hand man and will judge you because you're gay and will tell you go to hell.
It's wrong.
That is, that has been the most common statement I've had in my life. But you're going to hell. But are you sure you want to do this? But. And at the end of the day, I'm good with God. I'm good with my God. Don't worry about it. And don't stress my spiritual well-being. I'll take care of that. You take care of your own. And start by maybe judging less. But at the end of the day, yes, we have to have serious conversations with the religious policymakers or people in power. But religion and politics is never something that should have mixed. We had Magario, the Archbishop of the of the Orthodox Church, as the president of the country. I think that's your first step where you go wrong in life.
Yeah.
And it's not to say, oh, he made mistakes, oh, he was wrong. I'm just saying they're two very different elements, and they shouldn't actually mix. Yeah. It's oil and water. You cannot leave that separate.
I mean, it's foundationally and from the points of rights and progression and what politics has to do, which is guide a country forward, it makes no sense.
No sense to depend on
spirituality, religiousness, politics, business, completely different things.
100%. And the one shouldn't have an influence on the other. And certainly a Greek priest shouldn't be able to tell me who I can marry.
Amen.
Because he's a man like I'm a person on this earth. So as he's chosen his way, allow me the same privilege.
100%. It's like I'm not a believer myself. Like I'm a spiritual person. Like I believe in spirituality. I believe in karma. I believe in good. I believe in all of the things. I don't necessarily believe in God, or maybe I haven't found my way, my journey through it. What I do believe is in the wrongfulness of indoctrination.
100%.
And I think educations and religious journey, spiritual journey, whatever journey should be a journey driven by an inner desire versus you have to fucking sit at school and read the books and memorize it.
I agree.
think that to me flirts with brainwashing, and that's where issues come.
I could not agree with you more. I had a very interesting conversation with Paul Lumbie at the Diaspora.
I'm sure.
Amazing man.
Yeah.
Amazing man. And Paul just sat down and said to me, Despo, we have all these books in the Bible, and it's Matthew, John, and Luke. And he's like, where the woman? Did the woman not have anything to say? He's like, I bet you they did. I bet you their books are hidden somewhere underground. Yeah. And you had Mary Magdalene, you had Mary, you had women who had a lot to say.
What is their point of view?
Well, he's just saying, yes, can we have the full story? If you want to, reveal the full story, reveal the full story. Don't give us bits and pieces that apply to your thinking and strengthen your argument.
Yeah.
Show us all.
Because ultimately, like most of the problems of modern society goes down to extremism, right?
Yes.
When we start painting pictures in black and white, and life never is black and white. That's the reality.
Honestly, I agree with you, Martin. Anything extreme is wrong.
Yeah.
You have to find the perfect balance, even if the balance isn't perfect. Try and find some sort of balance, because. Yeah. It's never good to work with extremists.
Despo, from the practical point of view, you're a mother, you're a partner, you're an author, you're a person obviously that quite successfully managed to constructively go through trauma and come up with a beautiful journey, because I can see you, like you're talking about important topics and very painful parts of your life, but you're laughing, you're smiling, you're I'm sure you think about your journey of a positive one.
Very positive and very blessed. And you know what, we talk about humor is the only way you're going to get through difficult days. And honestly, it's something I have made sure my kids have it. They're all funny, and they immediately, if there's a tense situation, the first thing that comes out is a joke, and it relaxes everything. It's amazing. True. And I've been privileged to have this life, but I also want it to not go to waste. I want to sit here and I want to tell people it's okay. You'll be fine.
As a parent, currently going through these these traumatic journeys, going through, perhaps having found out about their daughter, their son, or seeing it or being part of a community. What should they be thinking about? What can we say? What can their inner circle do then to make this a positive journey?
It's very simple, Martin. Everyone has the right to choose who they want to love. And we didn't have that. In the beginning, it was all about, well, what will the Greek community think? You know, you marry a Greek man, marry this, marry that. Don't look out of the sort of Greek circle. And what I did with my kids is like, it's your choice. You want to be with a man, you want to be with a woman, you want to be with a Muslim, you want to be with an Orthodox, you want to be with whatever. Fall in love with the person's heart, and the rest will work itself out.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they've done, you know. And they have beautiful partners because they chose them themselves. I mean, we sit here talking about you have to choose your partner yourself, as if it's something that's big. This is normal, Martin. Everyone should have the right to choose their own partner.
Yeah.
And this should be the norm going forward. And Greek parents need to just ease up on this a little bit, because they're a little bit controlling. They're the most beautiful people. They're hospitable. Cypriot people are amazing.
Yeah.
They're hospitable and they're full of love. Apply that love to your child. Let the child choose who he wants to love.
Yeah.
And then support him, support her. Be by their side. Fight the fights.
Yeah.
But be there so that child can feel strong. I've got someone. Because there's nothing worse than going through life thinking you're alone. It's a heavy burden to carry.
Yeah, 100%. And tell me about your book. You're not the first person that told me they went into writing. Sorry. As a therapeutic approach. When did that start? When did you start writing?
Martin, my whole life I'm in business. I was an entrepreneur. I didn't ever think, I was going to be an author. I did always have a feeling that I had a book in me. That was always with me since a kid. I was good with essays at school and whatever, so I enjoyed it. But I went through some tough times. And we'll hear more about that at Fuck Up Night on the 23rd in Limassol. And it was really painful. It was the most down I'd ever been in my life. And I took to writing, but writing about my feelings. And it was a couple of weeks into writing that I realized there was a lot of material there. And had I changed the writing style a little bit, I could probably
make something out of it.
Make a book out of it. And so I started doing that. And then it just took a journey of its own. The only thing I have to do with this book is stay out of its way. It's running. It's found its people, it's found its voice, and it's doing its thing. Writing the book was 50% of the journey. What came afterwards was something I've never experienced before.
Tell me.
Well, going down the publishing route and trying to find a publisher that would be interested in it. So you had to do research. You had to find out, do you want to send it to a publishing agency or do you want to send it to an agent? And so that process took a while, all that research, and then I chose about 13 publishers and agents. And Orson Macaulay from London were the 8th one, and they came back with a contract. And when they came back with a contract, I didn't sign it for about a year, because this book is very much about my life. It's real life events. It's been adapted for story writing, and it's published as a fiction. But there's a lot of vulnerability in this book. And I knew the book coming out, I was completely wrong about that. I thought the book coming out would have a very negative impact on my parents or the Greek community, and I overanalyzed and overthought it in my head. And I had a great conversation with someone the one day, and he just said to me, "You're privileged to have a contract. There's people who write their whole lives and never get a contract. Sign on the dotted line," which is exactly what I did. And then the editing process started. And I thought it was an edit here, there, change it, 2-3 months would be published. It was a 2-year journey. The first thing they wanted was to change the ending because they believed more sales would happen because of the ending.
Okay, which we
won't.
cannot talk about it, but I will read it and I'll
Yes.
we can talk more.
And once you change the ending of the book, and I love that they did that, and I love that it took 2 years, Martin, because the original book was very angry. A lot of hurt, a lot of anger, a lot of negativity. And in the 2 years that I started to edit, the love shone through, the anger fell away, and this book is all about love. There's one page dedicated to one sentence, and that's love is love. And this book is all about love.
Amazing. What's your vision for the book?
That it does, and it already is. It's gaining international ground. But more importantly, if I had a book like this when I was 18, instead of picking up the phone at Helpline and saying, you know what, help, this book would have helped me a lot. And that's eventually, I wrote the story in a way that if I'm an 18-year-old girl, or if I'm a partner to a blended family, this book will help. You will know. And that's the thing I'm trying to get across to straight people, that your pains and your struggles in a relationship and your highs are the same as mine. We go through the same things in love and marriage and divorce. It's the same. But here I give the gay girl a little bit something to just read and say it's okay. And this applies to gay guy. And what's amazing with this book is I have so many male readers. At one stage, I had more male readers than female readers. And that's amazing.
What are they doing? They're studying, they're researching. You think the average reader is in the process of coping in their journey?
You know, Martin, I don't think we have enough, even though there's more now than there ever was. We don't have enough reading material and movies. And that's how you
normalize a culture.
Exactly. And so when he picks up that book and buys it, he's expanding what's out there for the next gay thing to come along.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're doing, supporting the gay rights, the gay journeys, the gay everything, but also just here's a gay book I can read about love that I can understand, that applies
Amazing.
to me.
Are you writing another one?
I'm busy with the second one. I've started it. Yes.
So if this was fictionized, let's say, with a lot of your personal stories and anecdotes and insights in this, about the second one, can you?
No.
Okay.
So
what's your thinking on the second one?
So the second one is I want to focus on the issues that should be already available for a separate couple, for a gay couple.
Yeah.
In Cyprus.
In Cyprus.
In Cyprus.
Bless you.
Yes.
It's a guidebook.
Is it?
Is it a guidebook? What is it?
No, it's basically, I am speaking about a couple that basically want what their neighbor has.
Yeah.
Okay, and their struggles and why they can't and how do they proceed and the pain of not being able to.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, it's a beautiful love story, but it's also, I'm taking on the policies of Cyprus.
I love
I'm saying,
that.
come on, look at this, boys.
There is a lot of need in that, and I also love your angle from the business perspective. I think because sometimes I'm a coach of a wonderful ecosystem which is by the guys at Cyprusino, and they are basically doing business activities between Northern Cyprus and Southern Cyprus because their mentality is that collaboration speaks the language of money. Right?
Very good.
And meaning that sometimes how you can bring different perspectives together, which are coming from contrasting background, even from a context of war, money brings them together.
Well, you know, Martin, let's talk about money. Do you know Shonda Rhimes?
No.
Shonda Rhimes is the director of Grey's Anatomy, How I Got Away with Murder, and a lot of other magnificent shows. She now actually has a business called Shonda Land. She's a billionaire, one of the richest people and a woman in America. But Shonda wasn't always that. And what changed my life, honestly, and you'll hear more about it when we have the Fuck Up Nights speech. Shonda wrote a book. It's called The Year of Yes. And what she started doing, now she was already rich, so money wasn't really a problem for her, but she felt like something was missing. And so what she started doing, she applied the Year of Yes, and what this meant was she would start saying yes to things she was uncomfortable with. So,
love it.
Yes. Yes, I will go out with you for dinner. Yes, I will look at this contract. Yes, I will look at this film script. Yes, yes, yes. And from that Year of Yes, she has grown into this magnificent, she's created her own empire. So in terms of wealth, yes, it's very much connected. I'm now in my third year of yes.
I love that. I love that. But the satisfaction that you get by going through something you didn't want to go through.
Yes.
You went through it, you maybe learned something, or maybe you pushed yourself out of the comfort zone. There is no bloody substance in the world that can change that dopamine release, that adrenaline release. And it's interesting that you say that, because it's also a big part of my journey, right? Like I wasn't always comfortable on stage. I was very introverted. I was not voicing my opinion. Like I was like, living in this protected shelf of procrastination and anxiety and fear of judgment. And I started having a few steps outside. Every step, the satisfaction that I was getting, the reward that I was getting, I couldn't describe it.
Wow.
It's like very similar to like a very heavy, intense workout, and you get this hype, but it lasts for much longer. And then you're asking yourself, okay, what else can I do?
Yes.
What else can I try?
Exactly.
Right? Because ultimately, then if not, we end up in our comfort zone, and only plants grow in the comfort zone. Humans grow from out of scope situation, out of scope challenges. 100%.
And you never know what that yes is going to bring you,
That's
what
right.
door it's going to open.
Yeah, there is a movie also, The Yes Man, I think, it's a comedy.
Is it with Jim Carrey?
I think so.
No?
I think so.
I'm not sure.
He I don't know if there is a curse,
Yes.
and he cannot say no anymore, because he was a business owner that always was saying no, very strict, and someone does a curse on him, and he ends up saying yes to everything, and his life changes because of
For
that.
the better.
Very interesting. Very
Like you
interesting.
described yourself now as this shy, introverted, anxious. I mean, that does not describe you now at all.
It's been a journey, like
Yes.
nowhere near to yours, but everyone has a journey, and I think what I learned from you is like if you start the journey, it's the only way to get somewhere.
Yes, 100%. See it through as well.
Yeah.
Start it and see it through.
Despo, thank you very much for your time. Where can people find you, get in contact with you? Where can they buy the book? Tell us a bit more of what how they can find out.
Thank you, Martin. The book is available online everywhere. If you even just Google my name or the title of the book, My Kind of Normal, it's available online everywhere. Amazon, but everywhere. Like on the first page, you'll have 20 places you can order it from. And then you can get your signed copy from me. I can always give an email address where you can just email. And then it's also available at the events that I go to, like on Fuck Up Nights, I'll have signed copies available.
At the Diaspora, you were
at
there?
At the Diaspora, yes. And it's 10 euros, €9.95.
Worth.
Yes,
it's an investment.
It's worth. What was amazing at the Diaspora is they were actually transferring 20 euros into my, which was amazing. I mean, help the author, but it was really nice that they saw
someone
the
help
worth.
the gay author, please.
Yes.
Despo, finish this sentence in a few words. Family is
Everything.
tradition is
Compromised.
love is
Essential.
Cyprus is
Healing.
wow, love that. Gay is
You're right.
amazing. Despo, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for listening from home, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Martin.